All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim her pushing his gospel and truth and his sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord, with it, folk upon your houses. This is the brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. You know, and I was watching the brother, one of the brother's videos, man, it's, almost home 144, and he was basically speaking on this article, as you see right here. This is on the Newsbreak app. He had the one that was on Yahoo, but this is the one I found on the Newsbreak app. It says, U.S. has a $21 trillion underground network for only the wealthy to hide out in a near extinction event, officials say. Right, and we understand right through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah what that near extinction event is, right? Which we know it is the World War III, right? As we read right here in Revelations 11, I'll highlight it real quick. Revelations 11 and 14, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Now that second woe, right, is going into World War II, right? You can read in Revelation, the 9th chapter, it speaks on World War I, right? World War II, right? And this is speaking on what? World War III, right? Which is, as it says right here, it says, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And it is coming, man. As you read in Matthew, the 24th chapter, right? We were warned, right? That that some of the signs that we would see, right, of the end of this world is what? Wars and rumors of wars, right? And there's plenty of it, right? Israel and Gaza, right? Netanyahu just basically made the statement that they're going to, officially take, Gaza, and indefinitely, and ultimately kill anybody who's illegally there. They just made this statement, I want to say yesterday or the day before, sometime this weekend, they made that statement, right? And as well as, scriptures say that the least of the flock shall draw them out, right? Which we know the least of the flock is going into the small hats, right? The 1948ers, you know what I mean? The fake JOOs over there, man, the imposters, if you will, man, the imposters, they're the ones that are ultimately going to, start and spark off World War III. And see, it's already begun, right? We're already at, right, World War III. World War III has already started, right? You got North Korea, openly helping Russia, right, fight against Ukraine. America is in a trade war with China, right? You got America backing, Israel, and in their endeavors, right? Because Israel's over there in Syria, which now there's talks about Turkey, right, getting in the mix, man, right? Because of what Israel is doing over there in Syria, and we know that Turkey has interest over there, right? Which is not a whole bunch of talk over there. Just kind of, Turkey kind of popped up, but you got Israel and Iran, America and Iran, right? You got the Yemen, right? The Houthi rebels and whatnot, fighting against America, right? So there's plenty of wars and rumors of wars, man, that are happening right now. But see, all these things that we see happening, right, are ultimately leading to, the climax of the situation, which will be World War III and the use, right, or the use of ICBM nuclear missiles. That's the climax, man. Which just to state, right, we understand through the spirit that, Jacob's trouble has to happen, right, prior to, the climax of World War III, right, for World War III, the climax to happen, right, if that made sense, but nonetheless, right, going back to this article, right, they're preparing for this event, right, World War III, right, and I'll read a little bit of it. It says the U.S. had built a secret underground city costing $21 trillion, where the ultra wealthy can hide out during a near extinction event, a former government official has claimed. And see, Esau, right, shows you that this is what he's, ultimately going to do, right, via movies and whatnot. They just came out with a TV show called Paradise, right, which I'm pretty far into the TV show already, but it basically goes into, a super wealthy woman, basically, purchased a mountain and built a city inside it, and had, right, we're talking about the whole, like, it was like as if you were walking outside, as if you're walking outside, that the inside the mountain, the top, all the way on the sides, and everything was covered in screens, basically. So they were able to change whether it was overcast, whether it was sunny, whether it was, and able to control all of that. See, Esau, was into those type of things, man. This is what he's preparing, for that. Because again, what happened in that TV show is there was a nuclear event, right? Nuclear missiles were used, right? And they escaped to the bunker. So this is the same thing that Esau is preparing for, right? A nuclear event, It says Catherine Austin Fitts, who served as the Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Bush, H.W. Bush, and made the shocking allegation on former Fox host Tucker Carlson's podcast, according to Realtor.com. Says a stunning $21 trillion in unauthorized spending occurred in the department between 1998 and 2015, according to a 2017 report released by Michigan State University economist Mark Skidmore. Right, Skidmore's report had been prompted by Fitts, referring to a report which indicated the Army had $6.5 trillion in unsupported adjustments or spending in fiscal 2015. So they basically took that money, right, and built a bunker. Built a very large bunker, which they call DUMBs as well, right? The acronym DUMB, right? DUMB, meaning Deep Underground Military Bunker, which they have, right? There's videos of them driving big ass trucks in and out of the side of a freaking mountain, man, which they have multiple, right? It's not just one, right? It's multiple, right? They got lesser bunkers. They got their more extravagant bunkers, right? Which is ultimately, again, right, it's prophesied that these damn devils will build these bunkers and try to hide in them, which we're going to grab in Amos, the 9th chapter, but I want to read a little bit more. It says, given the Army's $122 billion budget, that meant unsupported adjustments were 54 times the spending authorized. So let me read that again. Given the Army's $122 billion budget, that meant unsupported adjustments were 54 times spending authorized by Congress. Typically, such adjustments in public budgets are only a small fraction of authorized spending, the report noted. It says, while on Tucker Carlson's show, Fitts said she spent years investigating where the $21 trillion had gone and discovered there were 170 secret underground bases across the U.S. There you go. Right, 170. That's a lot, man. That's a whole shit ton of bases, man. But see, that's okay, right? Hey, Esau, you might be able to, run away from, the judgment of being burnt up by these ICBM nuclear missiles. But see, you're not gonna avoid being put into captivity, man. Yahweh Shemel Shah is gonna get you. You're gonna be snatched up out of them bunkers, man. You're gonna be snatched up. Let's go to this real quick, man. Jump to the scriptures. I want to make this too long, man. This is Amos 9th chapter. We'll start at verse 1. It says, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Right? Because you're not going to be able to escape, man. Right? You're not going to be able to escape, right, that ultimate judgment. You might be able to escape the hellfire, right, and escape into, into one of these bunkers. But see, the Lord is still going to get your ass, right? Verse 2 says, though they dig into hell, right, meaning the grave, the ground, right, Then shall mine hand take them, though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. So it don't matter where you at, man. It don't matter where you go to flee. You could be up in a spaceship. You could be, international space station. You could be a quarter mile underground. Hey, how about Shemiel Shah still gonna get you, man? Matter of fact, let's jump to it, man. Right? Because soon the Lord said what? Right? Jeremiah 16:16, right? He said, I will send for many fishers, right? And they shall fish them. Then will I send for many hunters, man. Meaning Yahweh Shemiel Shah is ultimately going to allow for those fishers to be changed into hunters, which is us, man. Lord, will we be of that number, man? Right? The elect, right, are going to be changed, right? The prophets are going to be changed from fishers, right? Fishers of men, right? Going out here prophesying, right? Bringing in the good and the bad, as the scriptures say, go out to the highways and hedges, right? Want to go from fishers of men to hunters of men, right? Let's grab this. Ezekiel, what is that? 25. And we'll start at verse 12. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. It says, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. Right? Scriptures say also in Obadiah, right, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, man. Yahweh Shemiel Shah is not going to allow you damn devils to get away with all the wickedness and evil that you have done, especially to the apple of the Lord's eye, which is the Israelites, man. The Lord's heritage. The Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners, man. Right? All the Israelites. You have touched and scriptures say that you forwarded the affliction. You did more than you were supposed to. Right? So you're going to have to pay, right? It's verse 13. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Don shall fall by the sword. That's right? The Lord Yahweh Shemiel Shah is going to have those missiles sent down, right, and destroy this fucking place, man. But again, right, you're going to have some of those, right, wealthy, right, elites, right, they're going to be escaping to these bunkers, and they're going to escape, right, the destruction from those ICBM nuclear missiles, right, but they're not going to escape, right, the ultimate judgment, right, which is them going into captivity. As it says right here, verse 14, it says, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, right? So the Lord is going to, equip us with, spiritual power, right? And you're going to be sitting there on your bed, you Edomites, you fucking elites, you wicked motherfuckers, man. Excuse my language, man. Y'all going to sit there. You might have TVs or this and the third, or maybe a screen, or, like in the TV show Silo, where they had a screen that changed, right? It'll make it look like, you're out in the wilderness, or, make it look like, you're out in the sky or whatever, right? One of them screens that change, right? You probably looking at your screen and it's some open green field, and you just see some person, right? And it's a Jake, right? So-called black man walking up to you, and as he's getting closer in the screen, he's getting bigger, right? Until he's standing right there, and he just steps through your screen and snatches you up, man, and drags your ass through them bunker doors all the way out, man, and throws you into chains, because that's what's coming, man. That's what's coming, right? You being put in the chains. It says, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger, right? According to the Lord's anger. It says, and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Yahweh Shemiel Shai, right? Let me grab that. Psalms, right? Again, you being put into captivity. Psalm chapter 149. And I'll start at verse 5. It says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Right? And Lord, will we be of that number? When we get to the kingdom, man, we're going to be in straight up joy. Straight up joy, perfected joy. Because we're not on bottom anymore, man. We're going to be on top. And see, even when we whooping you damn devil's ass, man, we're going to have joy. Because you getting a righteous recompense, man. you know, for everything that you've done, right? You fed our children to alligators, right? You ate us, right? Literally ate us, right? You know, you look up the book, the Delectable Negro. You know, they literally would eat us, man. You know, all that shit, man. All the wicked and evil things that you have done, right? You gonna pay for it, man. You damn devils gonna pay for it, right? And we gonna sit here in straight up joy, man, right? It says, verse 6, let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. It says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. So those that are wealthy, that are on top of this world, right, beginning with Esau Edom, right, the elites of the nation of Esau Edom, right, on down to the elites of these other nations, right, y'all gonna be ripped out of these bunkers and y'all gonna be put into captivity, man. You know, the heads of Moab, the heads of Ammon, right, the heads of Ishmael, right, the heads of Elam, the heads of Ham. I think I already said that. You know, all these, the heads of Japheth, right, all the different nations, man, right, that ultimately go into these bunkers and try to hide away. You're gonna be pulled up out them bunkers, man, and you're gonna be put into captivity, man. Meaning you're gonna be a fucking slave. You know? All the way down to the regular peons of your nations, you're gonna be fucking slaves. Every last one of y'all. You know? It says to execute upon them the judgment written, right? The judgment written. So this is written for you damn devils to go into captivity, man. Written for all you heathens to go into captivity. Starting with Esau Edom. Right? The wicked, right? Y'all all going into captivity. It says, this honor have all his saints, praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Right? This honor, right? To put y'all into captivity. Right? This honor have all his saints. You know, which was the saints of the Israelites. Right? Which you can go back a chapter, will prove that. Psalms 148 and verse 14. He also exalted the horn of his people, right? The Lord's people. The praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. All right, it's the Israelites, man. It says that people near unto him praise ye Yahweh, Hashem Yahushua. So again, right, just as we read in Ezekiel, the 25th chapter, right, the Lord is going to lay vengeance upon Edom, right, as well as these other nations, but mainly Edom, right, by the hand of his people Israel, by his saints. You know, we're going to put you damn devils in captivity, man. And it's going to be a hard-ass captivity. It ain't going to be fucking easy. It's going to be a very rigorous and a very troublesome, you know, captivity, man. And see, your captivity is going to last for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Drawn out, long-ass, unbearable-ass years, man. You know? And you're going to be, you're going to be reincarnated every single time into captivity. And then after 1,000 years, you're going to be destroyed, man, right, as a nation, right? I'm speaking of the nation of Esau Edom, right? They're going to be destroyed, right, after 1,000 years, you know? Let's go ahead and prove that in Psalms 52, starting at verse 5. It says, I'll start at verse 1. It says, to the chief musician, Meshil, a psalm of David, when Doeg the Edomite came and told Saul, and said unto him, David is come to the house of Ahimelech. It says, why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of the Most High endureth continually. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Right? Because Esau is a fucking liar. Right? As it says in St. John, the 8th chapter, which we, you know, speaking on, you know, the, wicked Israelites. You know, but, you know, we take that and we apply it, right, to the wicked, which is Esau Edom, right? So the scriptures say that, you know, he is, you know, he is a liar and the father of it, you know? He is a liar and the father of it, man. Because Esau is man, that's all he can do, man. These regular peon Edomites, man, you'll literally see somebody, it could be something as small as, hey, man, you take my pen, you know, something small like that, bro. And they'd be like, oh no, but you had seen them take it. It's a fucking pen. It don't mean a whole, I'm not gonna fucking sit here and goddamn, beat your ass because you took my pen. Bro, just give me the damn pen back, bro. Type shit, man. But see, these damn devils, they just lie about every goddamn thing, man. They lie about every fucking thing. Goddamn devils, man. And this is why they gotta go, man. Scriptures talk about he, deceived the whole world. Right? He lied about everything, man. Especially what the Heavenly Father and His only beloved begotten Son looks like, man. Which is blaspheming the Holy Spirit, man. It says, thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness, Salah. Right? Because all they can do is lie, right? It says, thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. The Most High shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place, and root thee out of the land of the living, Salah. So that's what Esau's got coming, man. Right? He's got complete and utter destruction coming for him, and his nation, man. You might be able to sit here and escape, the nuclear hellfire that's coming, right, by getting into these bunkers, being a mile down or a half a mile down or whatnot, right? But you're not going to escape going into captivity. You're not going to escape, right, getting your ass whooped for all the wicked and evil that you did. The Lord said He will not at all acquit the wicked, man. Not at all acquit the wicked, like ever. Lord ain't fucking playing with y'all, man. You damn devils, man. Y'all gonna get it. For real, man. The rest of you heathens, man, they're gonna be a tributary as well, right? After 1,000 years, they're gonna go back into their own land, and they're gonna be tributaries, right, to the nation of Israel forever. Forever. Which is beautiful, man. But hey, Esau, you gonna be destroyed. After 1,000 years, you done, man. An epic bonfire coming for your ass, man. But that's all I got, man. I don't want to make this too long, just kind of quick, straight to the point. Just, bro was going in on it. I believe I was, get my spiritual 2 cents in on it. Lord will is edifying. Lord will is straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak, Wadash, double honor, said the elder apostles, the other bishops, great millstones. Till next time I say Shalom.